Hi, good morning. This is Reverend Dr. M. Vijay Kumar, Assistant Professor of Commerce, MVS Government Arts and Science College Autonomous, Mehboob Nagar. Now, our present topic for discussion is related to company law, that is, company secretary. First, we will have a look on the definition of company secretary, meaning of company secretary. A company secretary means a person who is a member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, ICSI. According to Section 2, subsection 45 of Companies Act 1956, secretary means any individual possessing the prescribed qualifications, means completion of ICSI course, appointed to perform the duties which may be performed by a secretary under this act and any other ministerial or administrative duties assigned to him. This is based on the Companies Act 1956. Appointment of Company Secretary as per the Companies Act 2013. If you look this, a person who is a member of ICSI can be appointed as company secretary to any company. Then every listed company must have appointed as company secretary. Every unlisted company, private limited company, having paid up capital 5 crore or more must also have a full-time company secretary. A company secretary is not allowed to hold office more in than one company. It means for one company secretary, not like directors. Company secretary is an employee of the company, full-time employee of the company, permanent employee of the company. In case of default in complying above provisions, the company shall be fined from 1 to 5 lakh rupees. These are the guidelines. A company secretary is a senior position in any public or private organization, placed at the topmost level of the organization's hierarchy. Hierarchy means the levels of managers. At the management level, company secretary position will be in the high level, top level. The company secretary is responsible for regulating and efficiently managing the financial, legal, and statutory requirements. Along with that, he has to comply with the corporate governance that includes the welfare of all stakeholders of the company: shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, financiers, government, and the whole society. Company secretary has responsibility to look over the welfare of the all stakeholders of the company. The process for appointment of company secretary: arrangement for board meeting only after giving notice to every director to discuss, besides others, the following matters: approve the terms and conditions at which company secretary is proposed to be appointed, and obtain a written consent from the person who is to be appointed as company secretary. That is another one. Inform the stock exchange with which the shares of the company are listed on the date of this meeting before the board meeting. That is a compulsory condition. Inform the said stock exchange within 15 minutes of the board meeting of the outcome of the meeting by letter or fax. File the relevant form DIR 12 with the concerned registrar of companies within 30 days from the date of appointment. Pay the requisite fee for the same. Make necessary entries in the registrar of directors, secretary. The whole time secretary indicates that a company secretary must be in the employment of the company. That is whole time secretary, permanent secretary. And we will move to the role and responsibility of company secretaries. There are three main areas in which the company secretary plays a key role. He has to play a role to the board, to the company, and to the secretaries. In three areas, he has a role and responsibility. And we will move to the core duties of company secretary. He has to organize, attend meetings of board of directors and organizing the general meetings and preparation of memorandum and articles of association if amended. Requirement of stock exchanges he has to fulfill. He has to maintain statutory registrars of the company and statutory books of the company, statutory returns of the company. He has to report and accounts. He has to look and guard the report and accounts. Registration of shares is the core duty of company secretary. He must maintain the communications to and from shareholders. And his role is very, very important in issue of shares and capital and restructuring of the capital, rationing of the capital. And his role is very, very important in acquisition of companies or disposal of companies or merger with each other. And corporate governance is the key role of company secretary. Common seal of the company will be held by the company secretary. These are the things. What are the liabilities of a company secretary? There are two types of liabilities. One is statutory liabilities and contractual liabilities. If you look into the statutory liabilities, according to section 39, statutory liability for failure to send copies of memorandum of association and article of association, etc., to members within the 7 days of the requirement, their fine will be up to rupees 50 for each offence. Another statutory liability is section 75 for failure of file with the registrar a return of allotment of shares within 30 days. After the allotment, fine will be up to 500 for every day during which the default continues. Section 150 discloses statutory liability for failure to maintain register of members with prescribed particulars. Fine will be up to rupees 50 for every day during which the default continues. Section 165 for default in holding the statutory meeting and filing the statutory report, fine will be up to 100 for the default days. Section 168 shows the statutory liability of the company secretary for a default in holding the annual general meeting of the company, fine up to rupees 500, and in the case of continuous default, a further fine up to 250 for every day after the first during which such default continues. Section 303 for failure to maintain the registrar of directors with prescribed particulars, fine up to rupees 50 for every day during which the default continues. Section 307 for failure to maintain the register of directors shareholdings with prescribed particulars, fine up to rupees 5,000, and also a future fine up to 2 rupees 20 for every day during which the default continues. These are the statutory liabilities. Now, the contractual liability. A company secretary has also certain liabilities arising out of his contract of service with the company, so long as he acts within the scope of this, his authority, in good faith, bona fide, and take reasonable care in the discharge of his duties, he incurs no personal liability, but he will be held personal liable to make good the loss to the company for willful negligence or misconduct or fraud committed within the course of his employment. He also becomes personally liable if he acts behind his authority for any loss suffered by the company or any third party on account of his action. However, he is not liable for fraud committed by his assistants unless his connivance is proved. Then restrictions on powers and rights of company secretary. Company secretary enjoys certain rights and power, but there are some restrictions to his rights and powers which are given below. 1. Distribution of transfer of shares. A company secretary cannot distribute or transfer any share if he is not authorized by the board of directors. Restrictions on powers and rights of the company secretary. He is an agent, company agent. Company secretary cannot attend any meeting as a company agent without any consent of board of directors. He requires authority from the board of directors to sign any contract on behalf of the company. Taking loan. A company secretary cannot take loan in the name of the company. If he does so, company will not be liable for such loan. Supervision and control. As a head of the office, a company secretary has the right to supervise, direct, and control all office activities of the subordinate officers. Signing authority. Being a principal officer, company secretary can sign. Powers and rights of company secretary. Company secretary can exercise powers. He has the right to apply power as authorized by the board of directors. Issuing testimonials. A company secretary can issue testimonials to employees on behalf of the company. Powers and rights of company secretary. Claiming salary and damages. As per contract, he has the right to claim his salary and other allowances. He can also take legal action against the company if there is any breach of contract. Preferential creditors. During the winding up of a company, company secretary can claim his legal dues as like as preferential creditors. Attending meetings. He has the right to be present in meetings of the shareholders and board of directors. Thank you.